Our next guest is taking us on a journey through the afterlife, exploring 5,000 years of human history from the ancient Egyptian underworld to the literary world of C.S. Lewis's Narnia. And he also happens to be the host of Jeopardy. Ken Jennings has no limits in his new book, 100 Places to See After You Die. Thank you so much for joining us, Ken.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So the basic premise here is the bucket list after you've kicked the bucket. Explain how you came up with this idea.
Well, I was in an airport, and I saw one of those travel guides. You know, they always have these books that tell you 1,000 things you have to do before you die. But for some reason, I was looking at it upside down, and I thought it said 1,000 places to die before you see. And I thought, hey, that would be a book, you know, instead of a travel guide to Rome or Thailand. You know, it's where to eat in Dante's Inferno or where to stay in Valhalla or The Good Place. I always loved these fictional depictions of heaven and hell when I was a kid.
And you really delve into all these different iterations of death and the afterlife, that, as we've seen it depicted in movies and books and TV shows. How did you go about researching this?
It was research intensive. I mean, I didn't actually die and come back, but I did spend a lot of time in libraries looking up old Buddhist sutras and ancient medieval texts of mystics who said they'd been to the next world. Watched every episode, you know, binged every episode of TV shows about the next world, like Leftovers or The Good Place or Dead Like Me. I feel like I'm ready to go whenever, you know, if a bus hits me today, I know more than I ever needed to.
Did you interview anybody who says that they have died and came back?
I wanted to stay away from that because it's kind of that's a different kind of book, you know, the people who have these firsthand testimonies. I guess I did for people who had lived like hundreds of years ago. Like Emanuel Swedenborg wrote a very detailed book about here are the little communities that form after death, and you can even get married, and here's what the language sounds like. It's a little bit like Hebrew. A lot of these places have enough detail in them that you can write about them like it's a travel guide.
And you actually have a quote here from Harry Potter, and I want to read it here, talking about the afterlife. Of course, it's happening inside your head, but why on earth should that mean that it is not real? Do you believe that the afterlife exists?
I think there's something to that. I would say my conviction about the afterlife is I'm very hopeful about it, because it just seems like it's such a waste if we're here and we're conscious and then it all just goes away. So I would love for that to be true. But even if it's not, it can still be real, like the Harry Potter quote says. You know, it kind of determines how we live our lives here, what we value. Our afterlives say a lot about our culture, and then they determine our culture.
And you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
That's true, born and raised.
How did your faith play into how you went about writing and approaching this book?
I guess it makes me open-minded and curious about religion in a way that not everybody is. You know, I'm willing to... I love the fascinating little bits about Hindu heaven or Muslim hell or whatever, because they remind me about the little details and folklore in my own Sunday school lessons back in the day.
I just find you personally fascinating, because I'm the person watching Jeopardy at home that gets like 3 right, and I'm thrilled at that. And we were saying how you were doing that and just getting them all right. How has this gone from being the ordinary guy sitting on the couch answering all the Jeopardy questions correctly to the winningest Jeopardy contestant ever to now host of Jeopardy?
I can't believe it. It feels like it must be a prank, and at some point they're going to reveal what's been going on. It was always my favorite show as a kid. It felt like a safe space to be smart. You know, on Jeopardy, people were celebrated for knowing things, which didn't always seem to be true in real life America, and that meant a lot to me. And the fact that I can now still go to work there, I feel so lucky. I feel like the little kid that won the chocolate factory.
Now, my one game show that I've always been pretty good at, RSTLNE, that, you know, before they even gave you, I would always pick those and kind of be able to, in my mind, decide that I was able to solve the answer. We just recently heard that Pat Sajak is going to retire. Did you grow up watching? I mean, it feels like the end of an era.
It really does. For Pat and Alex to be gone within just a few years, I mean, that was America's evening for almost 40 years. And as we saw in Jeopardy, it's very difficult to navigate that transition, you know, because people are used to those hosts and they feel like they were guests in their homes for those decades.
You learned anything from Pat Sajak?
Yeah, absolutely. Even watching him as a kid, you know, he was very different than Alex. Alex was beautiful at keeping the game running seriously and smoothly, but Pat always had a little joke, you know. Pat was obviously a quick thinker, and that's not always right for Jeopardy, but I have Pat in the back of my mind sometimes when I see a chance to make a little joke.
Well, Jeopardy host Ken Jennings, we thank you so much, and we want to let our viewers know that his book, 100 Places to See After You Die, is now available wherever books are sold.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.